Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Continental Club. The dream team are back. We're back from Goa. Joe Tomlinson, slight tan, sun-kissed.
I know.
Over there on the
freezing though.
Didn't get deli belly. Adam Templeman did chat his soul out, if he had one. Did you miss us, mate?
Come on, you did.
First question this week comes from Finney
A
Mesafwa.
little bit awkward.
What is it?
Good memory from you. He asked, or she, if you had to choose between Real Madrid and Manchester City's midfield three, which one would you go for and why? Starting with you, Joseph, on the end.
I think I would go for Man City's obviously this season, but I think the reason for that is purely down to coaching. I reckon as individual players, I don't think there's much separation at all between the two midfields. I think other than Kevin De Bruyne, you look at Toni Kroos, Luka Modric and Casemiro, I would potentially have them starting over the likes of Fernandinho in central midfield in a Pep Guardiola team. But I think Pep Guardiola is a far superior tactical and technical coach to Zinedine Zidane, so therefore his midfield is massively outperforming Real Madrid's in terms of the data. But equally, on their day as individuals, I think Real Madrid's is better. I actually think Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are probably two of the best central midfielders, standard central midfielders in the entire world on their day. So I would potentially say Man City's because of form and coaching, but overall, I'd go for Real Madrid's, especially in terms of strength and depth.
Yeah, I think strength in depth is kind of a major issue here. Like with City, once you get past their first choice players, you get into Yaya Toure, Phil Foden, Fabian Delph. It's not terribly strong, whereas Real Madrid have Kovacic on the bench. I mean, he started the last few games, but Kovacic has not been playing enough, really. They've got Ceballos, who's barely played this season. They've got Isco, they've got Llorente. They've got so much talent there. I mean, the thing is, player performance is kind of a spectrum, so you can operate kind of towards the top of your ability or towards the bottom. And I think City, they're all currently operating at the top of their ability,
Yes.
and they have to be. Because Real Madrid this season are kind of coming third in like a 2.5 horse race, whereas Man City are running away from maybe the toughest competition we've ever seen in the Premier League. Like it's such a competitive league at the moment, and City are miles ahead. They've been outrageously good. And when you look at the age of Silva and Fernandinho as well, you really do see what an amazing job Pep Guardiola's done, that they don't get exposed more. They can play such an attacking lineup and they don't have major defensive issues. So, yeah, I mean, player for player, I'd go for Real Madrid, but it's pretty much impossible not to look at this Man City team and see Pep Guardiola essentially like doing a magic trick.
Yeah, and he's brought little nuances to people's game. You look at David Silva, I think he's completing less passes per 90, but he's in the final third more. He's applying more key passes, which will sort of intimate that he's now not as central to play, but more important in the final third. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's completing more tackles and interceptions. He's completing more passes. He's doing more of everything, basically, than this time last season. He's an amazingly well-rounded player and is probably the outstanding candidate of all the midfielders we're talking about. Fernandinho, his game has evolved year on year at Manchester City, hasn't he? And he's actually added some goals this season. I think he's a really sort of wise old head. Although, as you say, post 30, I'd probably go for Casemiro at this point because his numbers are outstanding still, despite not having a vintage season. I think he's completing 5 tackles, interceptions in comparison to Fernandinho's 2.7. But if we're talking form, it's got to be Manchester City. Yeah. But if we're going along the lines of form is temporary, class is permanent, then Real Madrid. I think Manchester City's midfield have contributed to 56 goals this season.
Insane.
Which is insane. By comparison, Real Madrid's have contributed to around 24, which is probably par for the course.
A lot of set pieces, you'd imagine.
Yeah, Manchester City, as you said, absolutely killing it. But if we were going to combine them, lads, to maybe make for a more interesting resolution, who would we go for? Kevin De Bruyne in the middle of that, or De Bruyne as Patrick pronounces him.
KDB definitely.
I don't think you can have Modric and De Bruyne together. I don't think you can.
I think
they're too similar.
I agree. I think you go KDB, Toni Kroos and Casemiro sat in the hole.
For the sakes of balance, Toni Kroos, maybe.
That'd probably be my move. I like Gundogan as well.
I think KDB actually has like the best facets of Toni Kroos's and Luka Modric's game at the moment. But I just couldn't leave out Luka Modric. Sorry, lads. I'm just a frustrated guy. It's got to be Luka Modric, KDB, Casemiro.
I'd probably pick just Napoli's midfield. I reckon it's bad. Like, that's my favourite one. And actually, next season we might be talking about Liverpool in this. If they go and get Jorginho in the summer, they've got Naby Keita as well. I mean, then maybe Lallana behind the forwards. Like, that's actually a really, really good midfield three.
Oh, no.
And Bayern Munich as well. We're leaving Bayern Munich out. We're leaving Lyon out. Lyon have got an amazing midfield three. They're all under 22 and they're outrageous. There's Touzard, there's Aouar, and there's Ndombele. That's amazing. And PSG. No PSG in here.
Actually, what's Jordan Henderson? When Jorginho comes
Send
in.
him back to Sunderland. Who cares? Rubbish.
Where would he go and pass sideways then? Anyway, guys, whose midfield do you like? Manchester City's or Real Madrid's? Vote in the poll just above. Or if it's someone else, a bit like Patrick and his little rant then, stick it in the comments below. Next question comes from McTeague97 and he's asked, will Arsene Wenger be sacked if he doesn't win the Europa League? Back-to-back losses against Manchester City have whipped up a lot of negative press, more so than usual it would seem, Pato, which has led to a lot of people touting a lot of candidates. Joe, I think you, I can see on your phone, have the top, 5?
I've got the top 5, maybe the top 6 we'll talk about as well.
All right, so why don't you list them off?
I'll rattle them off.
Pato's the Arsenal fan, can yay or nay them.
And we'll give a bit of counter to it.
And then we'll come in with a bit of colour.
Right, Pato, first candidate coming in at 6-1, the current favourite for the Arsenal job, Carlo Ancelotti.
No.
Why?
He's too similar to Wenger. Like, the criticisms of Ancelotti are basically exactly the same as criticisms of Wenger. Does the same training session every day, run about a bit, and then have a practice game. I think Arsenal shouldn't be looking for a stopgap until the next guy. They should look for somebody who can actually come in and coach the side, mould them in the long term. And I don't think Ancelotti's that guy. Plus, Arsenal need a guy who has a clever enough system to bridge the gap between us and much richer sides, and that's not what Ancelotti does. What he does is he gets super teams kind of all pointing in the same direction.
But I don't know whether
team.
you can find that manager in 4 months.
Well, read the other candidates.
I think it's all right. Second favourite for the job, coming in at 10-1, Joachim Löw.
No, I don't particularly want this. I think Löw is a better manager than people talk about. He actually was quite a good club manager, though that was 12 years ago now. He's done a very good job with the German national side, and they're pretty exacting in their standards in terms of what they expect from a coach. He's certainly tactically and kind of formationally versatile. Like, Germany have played all sorts of different systems, and they had an incredible defence at the 2014 World Cup, despite the fact they were essentially playing like 4 centre-backs across the back line and Lahm in midfield.
You have said, though, more than a couple of times, you think he's massively overrated.
I do think he's overrated in terms of, he's won a World Cup. What a genius.
Okay. So
I think he had
winning managers.
But my point is, he's not an idiot. He's not an idiot. I don't think he's good enough, and there's no evidence that he's done what Arsenal need a coach for.
I'll be honest though, looking at this list, I'm going to think that most of these managers you're going to say aren't good enough.
Okay.
Now, coming in at number 3 at 12-1, Mikel Arteta.
No. I mean, look, I'd love Mikel Arteta to be manager one day.
Mikel Arteta stinks of Ryan Giggs syndrome to me.
Yeah, though at least he left our club to go and work under a very good coach, so that's a good sign. And he always had an interest in coaching as well. Like, I know that obviously he was like childhood friends with Xabi Alonso, and I think, to be honest, growing up in North Spain, I think is quite a good recipe for being a decent coach.
And looking exceptional in a suit.
Yeah, that's true as well. No, I think Mikel Arteta, a couple more seasons with Guardiola at Man City, then I'd like for him to go and maybe work with Pochettino, whether he happens to be then, because he played with Pochettino at Paris Saint-Germain and he had an offer from him before he joined Man City. After that, that's about as good a training as you could get.
So if you were going to take a chance on a younger coach, it would be someone who still had a certain degree of pedigree, like a Julian Nagelsmann or a Thomas Tuchel, right?
Yeah.
And I believe the latter is probably your dream candidate, although Sven Mislintat, you've hired him as your director of football, and
famously
they had a huge bust up at Dortmund, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to imagine that two grown men could work it out, but to be honest, I think that Tuchel's likely to go to Bayern Munich this summer.
Definitely Bayern.
But Tuchel's the obvious candidate for us. He'd bring some pressing expertise. He's worked with a bunch of our players before. He's worked with Mislintat before, though that may not be an advantage in this situation.
Who is the dream candidate then, Peeves?
Me or Tuchel. 1, 2, Sarri. A bit of Sarri ball would be nice after the way that Wenger ball's gone, punctured. And number 3, Given that we've been f***ed over by them pretty consistently over the last 15 years, it'd be really fun to f*** over Chelsea by taking Antonio Conte. If he were to leave,
join you, I don't think.
why? We'd pay him loads of
I don't
money.
think you would pay him.
It's exactly the sort of thing he'd do if he was sat by Chelsea.
He's worn better suits in London than he ever did in Italy because London has better suit makers than Italy. I don't know. He'd actually create a sort of solid side that looked like they knew what they were doing.
For vengeance, and if he was sacked by Chelsea,
that's true.
That's exactly what I'd
He'd
pursue.
be after the big bucks though.
Yeah.
I think maybe an interesting angle to work this question from would be what players would said managers bring with them, Patrice? So if Leonardo Jardim does come in, who we've deemed as a safe option, then he might bring Fabinho with him to add a bit of steel to that midfield. He might bring Thomas Lemar with him. If Diego Simeone came in, then he could definitely solve that defensive problem with players like Hernandez.
Gabby.
Yeah.
Felipe Luis just won't come back ever.
Just ramp up the average age of that
I mean,
squad.
Oblak would be nice.
Maybe,
Oblak would be nice.
maybe Tuchel could tempt prodigious young talent from Dortmund like Pulisic. Wouldn't that be tasty?
We've already got Mislin tap for that though. We don't need more
it's true.
Dortmund guys.
But you want Tuchel anyway.
Yeah, I do want him.
Rodgers.
But Tuchel's unemployed. Tuchel's not going to bring anything, mate,
Rodgers
except like
could
fucking
bring
Deliveroo promo code.
Dedrick Boyata. Maybe entice Kolo Touré out of
Solve the
retirement yet
goalkeeping
again.
situation.
Touré,
Craig
get him in.
Gordon.
Forest.
Old Glasney's. James Forrest is actually having an exceptional season, and I won't hear a bad word said about him,
An
okay?
exceptional season.
Jesus.
Asterisk in Scotland.
Christ. Anyway, what are we talking about? Arsene Wenger, should he be sacked? In my opinion, I think the club need to announce his departure fairly soon and act like they're
That'd be the smart
working
thing to do.
with him to go through these candidates and find someone who's suitable in tandem. I think that's important, and just gradually move him upstairs, because he's very much in danger of not getting the goodbye that he deserves at this point, because a general sort of malaise, apathy is spreading across Arsenal fans. We saw it against Manchester City last night. There was barely anyone at the ground.
I mean, in fairness, it was like -5 on a Thursday.
Yeah, and your fans are
But that's what they
weak.
Yeah, I mean,
meek.
yeah, because they've got
And
proper
moaning.
jobs, unlike in Scotland, where they're all just in the crowd
How
tying one
dare
off.
you? Glasgow used to be one of our most important dock lands. Not anymore.
What are you talking about?
How have we gone to Docklands?
Because that's where all the jobs were, you thick.
Whenever you talk about Celtic, I always just imagine train spotting.
My family had to move from Glasgow because of a shortage of jobs, and they worked at the hosiery factory in Leicester, famous for producing its socks and pants.
Nice.
So that's
Tights.
why.
Is that why you're such a fetishist?
That's why I'm here. Socks, tans and pints. Pants and tights. Yeah. Anyway, Wenger, I think it needs to go Prono, because he's not going to get the reception he deserves, is it?
Oh, I mean, you've got to give it to a guy who can segue into the history of Leicester's industry and then straight back into. So I reckon Wenger probably needs to go then. That's
Professional.
That's exceptional.
And on that note, let's go into our preview of the week.
Yeah.
Okay then, so we don't have any one game this weekend because there is a plethora of absolutely top-notch games. Joe has made a handy little list on his iPhone.
No.
Can't be bothered to think, so he's just going to read off the fixtures. Go on.
I am. First one then. Barcelona versus Atletico.
Woo.
Should we do quick-fire predictions and a couple of points about the game?
Go on then.
Well, Barcelona, still undefeated. I think if Atletico win, they could close the gap to 4 or 5 points. So I'm going to go for Barca at home, right?
Yeah.
Barca at home.
I'm going to go for 2-0 Barca.
Ooh.
I think a draw. I'm going to go for a draw. I don't think Barcelona are as great as they seem.
Atletico really struggling to score, though, aren't they?
Griezmann bagged 4 though the other day in the cup.
7 in 2 games,
He's absolutely flying. But if they can keep him quiet, it will be troublesome. I don't know. Barcelona are going to walk the league.
I'm going to go for devil's advocate, and I'm going to go for an Atleti win, 2-1. Don't know why.
Just stupid.
Big claim.
Just
Big
see what
claim.
happens.
Jet lag. That's fine.
Next one then.
No, it's just not
Lazio
right.
versus Juve. Must-win game for Juventus. And it's at Lazio.
Well, shouldn't we take this in tandem with the other one of the other big games in Serie A?
Which is Napoli-Roma.
Whoa.
And
If
AC Inter.
Whoa.
Yeah, and AC Inter.
Gives a
Ooh,
If
Serie A tasty this
If
weekend.
Napoli win, I think they can extend their gap at the top to 4 points.
Holy
which would be pretty significant in terms of Serie A's modern history at this point in the season. Okay,
So
let's start with
Lazio,
Lazio Juventus then. Lazio, in the last few games I've watched them, haven't been that great against the bigger sides. I think they were pretty easily dispatched by Napoli 4-1 a couple of weeks ago. I actually think Juventus may do something similar, although with Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile in form, it's hard to predict. I'm going to go 2-0 Juventus.
Oh my God, I think Juve have been overperforming a bit recently relative to their underlying numbers, but they just got too much. Lazio are a really good side, but when you look at them man for man, they just don't have Juve's talent.
Agreed. So what are you going for score?
1-0 Juve, classic result.
I'm going to go 3-1 Juve. I think Juve will roll over them. What about the other game, the Napoli-Rome that we were just talking about? Let's get a brief one on that.
Napoli.
Yeah, Napoli as well. I think
they're at home
pretty
as well.
Comfortable. Obviously, there is the Milan derby as well. AC Milan versus Inter Milan. Inter have been shambolic recently.
Although they're still 5 or 6 points ahead of AC. AC is still down in 7th, despite being unbeaten in 8 or 9. I've obviously been in goal. I don't know what the result was over the weekend, but I still think this is. I can see Inter finally picking up, a bit of form in this one. AC, I've just not been great every time I've watched it. I'm gonna go 1-0 Inter.
Yeah,
Icardi, probably.
Spalletti's a better manager as well, isn't he? I think Inter have got that one, and then AC Milan, of course, of Arsenal in the Europa League, which could be quite exciting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a draw in the Milan derby. I think. Big one then in Germany, Leipzig Dortmund.
That's at Leipzig, I think, and this actually of all these games, I mean, except for the Napoli and Juve ones, this probably there's the most at stake. Yeah. I'd say.
Bit of a game-defining season.
A season-defining game even.
Jet lag.
We are tired.
Teamwork. Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting one because both sides have not been particularly special this season. A big step back for both of them since last year, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously Leipzig as well are going to lose their best player in the summer, so that's not exciting.
Although Leipzig were bloody good against Napoli away from
home. They were very good, but it was a weak Napoli side, right? I mean, it was
in 2 or 3 key areas, not massively.
But I mean, you'd rather go up against Adam Luna than I don't know, Mertens and Insigne tag team. I don't know. It was still very impressive, and they are quite good. I think often the way they play works against bigger sides, maybe away from home, because they drop off quite deep and then hit so fast on the counter. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against Dortmund at home.
I can see Timo ripping through that Dortmund backline. I actually think Leipzig will walk this game. 3-0 I'm going to go.
Walk? 3-0? If that's correct, then I will present the neck. No, I'm not going to say that. I actually think probably Dortmund will win this. What? 2-1?
I think Leipzig win 2-1, but I think it'll be a rough one. I think Michi might score in this game.
Yeah, that's kind of why I went with Dortmund.
He's great.
Could
only think of Michi, really.
Go on then, final big game of the weekend, City versus Chelsea.
Oh, well then.
This game means literally nothing.
Yeah,
Chelsea are going to finish 5th, probably, or 4th maybe. City have already won the league. All City give a shit about now is winning the Champions League.
Yeah. Bit of redemption for Conte though, away at City.
Oh, away at City. That. Can you imagine?
Go on then, what results are we going for?
3-0 City.
2-0 City.
2-1 City. That's it.
Wow, what a maverick.
Bit of a cop out of a section there because there were so many games. Probably should have just done a couple of them more in depth, but just got it off the plane yesterday. So sorry. So guys, that was Continental Club. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to submit a question, do so on Twitter on the handles below. What else is happening?
90 plus 1 facts. It's just insane football facts this week. So it's kind of like a little bit of a grab bag of all kinds of interesting things that we couldn't find a home for on other 90 plus 1 videos. So if you just want to know weird shit about fans, strange matches where 7 people got sent off, there's one of those in there. Yeah, check that one out because Kieran's worked really hard on it. It looks great.
And on Football Daily, there is a video today, and it is viral footy news. Yeah, we're talking about Neymar potentially missing the World Cup.
There is a video today on our daily channel. Anyway, bye.